it has to happen in a manner that we finally should be able to recognize the drone, whether it is a bona fide drone or a rogue drone. We should be able to have no fratricide, in terms of we are shooting down our own drones or taking down something which is actually meant for us. And the UAS unmanned aerial system, when it proliferates, it requires some additional infrastructure also. We need to think about that. Where do they launch from? What do we do? What are the communications? How do we control it in relation to manned platforms? Which all places? We had made some rules some time back where there are green, yellow and red zones created. How easy or difficult it is to implement is something that we need to think along. Like I had already said, integration is very important. We have manned platform which will continue. We have long range vectors which will continue to use the same airspace where the drones are going to come in. I'm talking about, when I say drones, it is not just the small drones, it's a common term being used, from a small micro mini drone to a unmanned aerial system which is like a full aircraft but unmanned. So everybody is going to use the same airspace. So man, whether it is in the loop or on the loop, these terminologies are coming, at least in planning, in control, in terms of feedback system, situational awareness, we need to know each other's position and understand how an airspace is going to be used, whether it is procedural control or active control, whatever manner. Also, we need to look at how if we are miniaturizing drones, I saw people are coming up with new technologies where even engines are becoming low weight engines, the motors, it's a PCB based motor and all that. So with that weight going down, even the payloads whatever are going to be used by us, whether it is a weapon or whether it is a camera or any other payload, they also have to be miniaturized. And while doing all this, we have to get down to the absolute, every brick has to be made in India. Actually, every brick should be developed in India. Then only we can say we are fully Atmanirbhar. If there are some components for which we are still relying on some other country, then obviously we can be, we can fall prey, sense of, what do I say, ease in this, that okay, it's not that difficult to get it certified. I feel the reliability factor has to be built into these. The redundancy factor has to be built in. We may not have a human sitting inside, but it can fall on anybody. It can fail in a mission, which can cost us a lot. You see what is happening today. Why are people talking about numbers? Because there are two things. One is each drone cannot carry the weight of attack the way a manned platform, a big platform can carry. And second, so you need to send them in large numbers to attack. Second is the failure rate is very high as of now. So you don't know how many you are launching and how many will reach the target for whatever purpose you are launching them for. So that has to go up, and that will only happen if we are, treating it like any other machine, going through our D&D cycle in the correct manner, in a fast track manner, but following the correct procedures. The certification agencies have to play a big role in this, that whatever the requirements, we have the labs to test them, and also future growth. That means all other technologies that are coming in, which are required to make the mission success, whether it is stealth, whether it is, like I said, some countermeasures to make it survivable in the battlefield. All technologies have to develop along and get miniaturized for them to succeed. We have just heard about the cyber security part. Yes, it is a very important requirement to have our sovereign stacks, secure networks and storage, and also data privacy. So that has to be looked along with that. So only way that can happen is if we have the intellectual property rights for whatever we do. Then we should be able to make changes whenever we want. We should be able to encode anything, decode anything, and of course indigenous AI algorithms will be required to be developed along with that. So all this will only give us a total self-reliance or Atmanirbharta. There is also skill gap. We need to have more and more numbers of, and when I talk about people in various fields, whether it is AI, robotics, cyber security, materials, aerospace, we talk about aerodynamic designing, propulsion. It's required not only just for production, but also for maintenance activities of these tools. So that is something where we should look at. We have been talking about the funding part. I'm aware that all projects are fund intensive, and most of them are D&D, and we don't know whether we'll get something back or not. So, but one thing is for sure, that in this field we have use in civil as well as in defense. So numbers will not be a problem. But yes, what are you designing, whether you're designing the correct way to make sure that the requirements are met, that means whether the requirements are defined correctly or not. More than that, a startup, we just talked about it, whether startup can afford to put that much money without a knowledge of how much will be sold. Maybe a bigger players can come into this. I had talked about it in one conference earlier, where I said, let's follow that concept of Daswant, that 10% of your earnings are going for some good cause. Let that 10% of big players, at least people who are earning, companies which are good, they are stable, let that 10% go into the R&D without thinking about whether it will have a return or not. Let that be an investment from your side towards nation building, and adopt some startups so that you support them. Be incubators there, be there, you become the people who are putting your money. So that is the only way we can get niche technology. Every technology, if we think of that, whether it will get sold in enough numbers that I will get my money back, then we will not land up having these technologies with us. Because some of these technologies are niche technologies. You need to have them to be self-reliant. Whether numbers will be sufficient or not, we are not sure. So most likely the numbers will not be sufficient. Here again, people from the various government ministries who are here, we need to find ways and means of supporting this part. How do we support the smaller players in this, that we give them, maybe we have programs like IDEX and MAKE in which you can get some money for your R&D, but may not be sufficient at times. Maybe we'll need to find some ways on this. In this field, be short. It's the disruptive technology, things are changing. We just, it was again mentioned that every day some new thing is coming up. So obviously that worry which was told that we should not miss the bus, we should not be left behind, is something that should be guiding us, pushing us all the time. Again, I'm repeating some of my favorite statements. Technology delayed is technology denied. There is no point having something which comes later than when others have got it and gone beyond it. So we need to push ourselves to make sure that these things happen in time. And not only just technology. Technology staying in lab. Dr. Ranjana just mentioned. We have the technology, but it's not gone beyond lab. Then no point. So we need to have the production capability. We need to have the scalability. Sometimes certain technologies we need to have scalability in terms of that, okay, our normal rate of, let's say production is 100 pieces per month or per year or whatever, and it has to be built up to 500 when the war comes. So we need to think about that part. And so everything has to be at the speed of relevance. If things don't remain relevant, then we are lagging behind. Dr. Ranjana mentioned, about I'm quoting too many times, man. So that means I was at least awake. So see that coffee maybe. Okay, so she mentioned about, whatever you do it extremely well. We were today, just before coming here, I was in another seminar where RRM was also there, and our AOM, quoted from Bhagavad Gita. So I wrote down that time that I must quote this here. So he said, Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 50 says, Yoga karmasu kaushalam, which means, how many understood? Firstly, there are few. Because I also waited for him to translate in Hindi or English so that I can understand. It means excellence in performance of one's duty is the true yoga. So let us all do some introspection. हमने आज योग किया या नहीं किया? Whatever we do, we have to be excellent. And excellence is not one-time activity. It is a habit. We have to make it a habit in our system. Let there not be any tick marking. The two ways of doing a thing. One is that you do it from one end to the other end, putting your heart and soul into it. Other one is कुछ दिखाने के लिए जैसे हम करते हैं, टिक मार्किंग. कई बार हम उस स्माइल ले आते हैं फोटो खिंचाने के लिए, और जस्ट फॉर टिक मार्किंग. और कई बार हम दिल से स्माइल कर रहे होते हैं. So let this be from the heart. Let us do our work. Strive to do our work at least with excellence, and that is our true yoga. That is our true sadhana. And there are multiple challenges, I've already said, and it can't be solved by one agency, one person, one group of people. All of us have to come together. It has to be a whole of nation approach that we call, whether we are users, like in this case here, if you're talking about defense drones, then it is the defense industry, defense forces, whether we are government making the rules and all, industry, researchers, regulators, academia, incubators, investors, QA, QC agencies, all of us have to join hands to ensure that whatever unmanned systems, whatever drones we make, or the counter drone systems that we make are safe, secure, reliable, scalable, operationally relevant, and of course are economically viable. That is what we have to ensure. I'm sure there are a lot of domain experts here who will be speaking today, and again I would like to say that this seminar will bring out a lot of focus areas. This seminar will bring out a lot of challenges and solutions. So let us take these two logical conclusions, and not just tick mark another seminar. Number 3 is over, and let's look for number 4. Okay, so let it lead to some partnership. Let this lead to some projects, some indigenous tech development, so that finally we have we strengthen India's strategic vision and strategic autonomy that we are talking about, and our generations ahead will be indebted to all of you if this happens. And one more last point I would like to say, that if we keep doing what we are doing, we will get the same results that we have been getting. So we need to do something different if we want different results. If we think that the results that we have been getting till now, the speed at which we have been progressing, if it is good enough, then let's continue. But if we feel that it is not good enough, let us do something different. Let us be innovative in this also. That what different can I do? Let us do some, Atma Manthan, Ant Chintan, and find where we are lying. And each one of us should at least make sure that in our own domain, we are able to do that yoga that I talked about. So thank you once again for giving this opportunity, and non-tech coming here and talking. So nice of you. जय हिंद. एक बारी जोर से हो जाए जय हिंद. एक बारी मेरे पीछे जय हिंद.
मजा आ गया सर.
मेरे को नहीं आया और ऊंचा होना चाहिए. जय हिंद. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you very much, sir. In fact, you have said so many times, I am from non-technical background, but it was definitely a very, I would say, thought leader perspective.
I'm very happy that PhD CCI is doing this job of bringing everybody together on one stage. Whether it is the government agency, whether it is the industry, whether it is the user, R&D organization, everybody is coming together to find solutions to this technology. How we remain abreast, ahead, not just abreast. We have to remain ahead of others. So I'm very happy and wish them all the success. Thank you.
Thank you.
जो पाया है उसमें मत खो जाओ, जो खो गया है उसका ध्यान रखो. So we always look at where we could have done even better and be prepared for that. Always.
So what are your
One question
Hello,
is over.
one question is
Bye-bye.
Hello, thank you.
Thank
Just in front of you, you have a scan as far as various conflicts are concerned. What I'll highlight is basically certain key takeaways which are indicating to us what is likely to be the future that we look at as far as incorporating unmanned systems in our warfighting methodology is concerned. So as far as the Iran-US war is concerned, we look at the aspect of proliferation, we look at the aspect of precision strike capability, and we are looking at persistent strike capability using these systems. Russia-Ukraine, I think the biggest takeaway that is coming out is the aspect of learning, unlearning, and coming out with new concepts. So the pace with which adaptation is happening in the Russia-Ukraine context, I think that is the most important takeaway as far as we are concerned. Coming on to Israel-Hamas, this is a specific use case lesson that we draw from here with respect to how unmanned systems can be utilized in built-up areas for conduct of urban warfare. So very, very relevant in our context, especially in the Western Front, wherever we are likely to operate, especially in the areas of Punjab, where we are going to encounter built-up areas. I think very, very relevant lessons that have come out. And last, not the least, of course, is the Op Sindoor that got played out. I think one of the most important takeaways of Op Sindoor were at the conceptual level, it gave us a kind of a peek into how we need to evolve our operational concepts to be able to incorporate unmanned systems. Possibly any kind of a future conflict, there is going to be a distinct phase which is going to be fought only using unmanned systems. A non-contact phase which will be led only by unmanned systems, possibly. At the doctrinal level, it indicated to us that there were certain gaps as far as our warfighting doctrines were concerned. They needed to be upgraded, aligned, and made relevant for the future. At the capability development and the equipment acquisition level is concerned, it indicated to us that there was a requirement to move fast and acquire capabilities of different types depending upon the use cases that had been identified. And I'll talk about certain use cases specifically as relevant for the land forces. And last but not the least, and I think very, very relevant, and I consider it part and parcel of the overall drone ecosystem, is the aspect of the counter drone system, which was a very, very major requirement that got highlighted, flagged as far as Ops Indoor is concerned. Next. So if we see the core takeaways come next, yeah. So these are certain conceptual takeaways that I would like to highlight, that the primacy of non-contact, the requirement of replacement at scale, and I think this is where the industry needs to understand the aspect, why it is important to become a drone manufacturing hub, because once we get into a conflict situation, the replacements that will be required at the scale that they will be required will entail that we have to have manufacturing heft to be able to do that. And lastly, of course, I've already highlighted something which is important for us today as we absorb unmanned systems at scale, rapid adaptation and the availability on site in field conditions to be able to ensure that adaptation of the technologies, the upgradation of softwares and so forth is possible at the field level. Go next. Use cases. I think everybody is aware what are the essential use cases that we normally talk about. Go next. I'll quickly summarize a few of them just to put them into perspective. So if we start with the ISR, I think we're looking at 3 different layers or 3 different levels. So as far as the land forces perspective is concerned, we're looking at persistent, using systems hail, mail, partly and more HAPS and MAPS. So basically high altitude pseudo satellites and medium altitude pseudo satellites. That is what we are looking at. At the operational level, when we have corps and divisions, we are basically looking at tether drone variety, we are looking at longer range, persistent surveillance, and then finally tactical ISR in support of smaller tactical formations inherent to them, so that the requisite sensor shooter linkages can be established, the engagements can happen, the kill chain can be activated or converted into a kill web. So that is what we are looking at. Towards the left hand side, if you see the strike capability commensurate to the surveillance capability, we are looking at 3 layers. We are looking at strategic strikes, we are looking at battle space shaping, where essentially we are trying to target any kind of movement, forces coming into the tactical battle area, shape the tactical battle area and ensure success once our own operational forces are committed. And last, of course, is the strike capability that is required inherent with every unit and formation to be able to make effects on ground using the unmanned systems. More importantly, I want to focus towards the right hand side, swarms, which is still not prevalent at scale, and certain miscellaneous use cases which I have highlighted here. So some of them the chair also spoke about in his initial remarks. So it ranges from logistics, communication relays, airborne command posts, conduct of electronic warfare using airborne systems based on drones. We are looking at could be propaganda dispensers, leaflet dispensers, engineer wrecking, and so forth. Go next. One important facet not spoken about too much, not seen too much in the Indian context is the unmanned ground vehicle. Very essential and important as far as the land forces are concerned. Certain use cases, I think again self-explanatory, but very important to be highlighted, that these are certain systems at scale which we definitely feel are very, very relevant going forward. Next.